Only I got it.
Oh, that's it.
Hi everyone. Welcome. I've got Luke and Tim with me.
Hey, everyone.
Hey. Cheers.
Oh, cheers. Look at that.
Oh, I've only got water.
It's a boozy one.
Only got water.
We know what's really in there, Lennon.
Guess. Take a guess. Thanks for everyone who has already been answering Luke's question. If you have time, let us know which city, what time zone you're joining us tonight again, or if it is morning or lunchtime to you. I see Danny. It should be lunchtime for Danny, right? And there's some polls down below. Take some time, maybe do that. We'll just wait a couple of minutes for more people to join in.
What about you, Lennon? Weren't you going to the office every day before COVID, before 2020?
I did, but because I work in the IT industry, so working from home is quite normal, just not every day. So maybe every once in a while I'll work from home anyway.
Yeah.
But I have been working from home ever since March 20 something till now.
Yeah.
And I changed my job and I haven't even been to the new office yet.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, I was the same. I would be in an office more often than not. And I would go and see clients. I would literally sometimes drive across the state and go and spend a couple of days with a client and be in their office and, spend time with the team. And now I'm working with clients and I've never met them face to face.
Yeah.
Start to end of a job. Never met them. It's really strange.
Well, it opens opportunity up, but it's also a really weird feeling that you just don't get
Yeah.
to see them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now I'm working with clients overseas and I guess that'll, resume, that'll be the norm. But yeah, I hadn't done that before now.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
We've got is Belgium new in the audience list?
Ooh.
Belgium. Welcome, Robin.
Yeah.
I'm liking this international vibe.
Oh, Newcastle. Have we had Newcastle before? Come on.
Very exotic. Very exotic.
Okay.
Oh, nice to
I grew
see
up
you.
in Newcastle. Raymond Terrace Public School. That's where I went.
I am going to.
Oh, Oregon, 1 a.m. Lisa, that is commitment.
Cool.
Malaysia, cool.
Welcome, Mel.
Newey.
Cool. Should we get started?
Let's do it, mate.
Awesome. Welcome everyone again. This is actually the 6th event. We've gone quite far this year, Tim. Have we?
Look at that.
This one is title of this one is My Life Operating System in Notion. Joining us today is Luke from Sydney.
Hey guys, good to be here.
We'll do some housekeeping things before we reveal all the exciting stuff. So as I've just said, use the poll to tell us how long have you been using Notion. Are you using it for personal or business or both? And feel free to use the chat to answer Luke's question at the very top. How's 2020 treating you? And let us know which city you are joining us and what time zone you are in. It's always interesting to know that. A little acknowledgement of the country. I like to begin by acknowledging that I'm hosting this event from the war-warring country and pay my respect to their elders, past, present, and future. I also want to acknowledge the current global context with the pandemic and various other movements and challenges being faced around the world. There's a lot going on for everyone at the moment. We are here to support each other not only in the Notion community, but also the global one. As this context continues to evolve, we have an opportunity to empower each other, develop shared resilience, and work creatively so we can rise to new challenges. Housekeeping. Make sure you say something nice in the chat. Tim will help us monitoring the chat and myself will do that while Luke's giving everyone the awesome things. We don't currently have a takeaway links at the moment. We'll see what we can put there after it. We'll probably link Notion Australia's side to it. Use Ask a Question if you have any questions throughout Luke's presentation today. And it's definitely okay to take a toilet break or take a phone call. You are not being watched. We are being watched. And please give us any feedback via the poll after the events. Agenda today is pretty simple. We're currently doing the warm-up. Around 2 or 3 minutes later, Luke will take over and start talking about his awesome app. What to expect today? So Luke is a digital designer at the moment, and he's definitely a power Notion user who's been pretty active in the community. And he also has a programming background, which is super fascinating and why we invited him here today. So we're definitely in good hands.
Everything, what they call a unicorn.
Yes, a unicorn. And everything today is about building and customizing your life app in Notion. Luke is going to present us the app tailored for his life. Doesn't mean that it's the only one app. We're definitely, Notion's definitely allow you to customize it for your own use. And all of our major events on Crowdcast were mainly emphasizing on showing you how powerful Notion can be. So it could be a little bit overwhelming looking at all the different things if it is the first time for you to join an event like this. Take a breath, make sure you ask plenty of questions. And we'll always have Build With Us session following by these sessions to walk through some of the templates we touched. Cool. So a little bit about Notion Australia. So it's Tim and Lennon teaming it up. We definitely love Notion, that's why we're doing this. We just want to connect Notion lovers in Australia and our time zone neighbors. Mainly all of the major events usually happens either in Europe or in North America. So we'd like to provide a little bit friendly time zone to you guys. Our website is here. I think we've got quite a bit new audience today. So if it is first time, welcome to pay a visit to our website, Notion Australia. We do bi-weekly or fortnightly events every Wednesday evenings like today. And it's usually around 6:30 or 8 o'clock. This is our 6th event. We've got all of our past events replay uploaded to our YouTube channel. We've actually got quite a bit of traction this week. We're sitting at 132 subscribers, which was 60 something last week. Super exciting. So all of the recordings, whether it's Zoom or happen on Crowdcast, will always be here. Hit the subscribe button if you want to keep in the loop. We've got some templates we've previously made. They're all free. Make sure you check them out. Some FAQs if it is first time you use Notion, or you can always send us an email asking specific question. We'd love to answer those for you. Gonna skip this part, but it's a little bit intro for Tim and myself. If you're interested, take a look. And we're always looking for contribution. So whether you want to be a guest speaker, a Q&A, or Build With Us panelist, or you want to run events with Tim and myself together, and really anything Notion related, feel free to shoot us an email and let us know. And finally, if you want to stay in the loop, one thing to do is subscribe to our Notion, to our YouTube channel. The other way is just to join our newsletter. We'll roughly, on average, send one every week just to remind you of the events, and no spam. That's a guarantee. Cool. Awesome. And that's it. I will now hand over to Luke, our guest tonight. And I'll stop sharing.
Thanks, Lennon. And while we're doing acknowledgements, hi there, I'm Luke calling in from the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, aka Sydney. Good evening. I'll try and answer questions as we go. So go ahead and post stuff in the chat and ask questions, and I'll try and multitask and keep an eye on it. I started with a question for you guys, just as a bit of context. What did 2020 do to your day-to-day routine? What changed to you? Thanks for the answers. A few different things came up. Homeschooling, of course. Don't envy you guys. A better schedule in some senses. Gaining time back from commuting, for example, working from home. I've started working from home exclusively myself, and that's kind of set to continue indefinitely now, COVID or not. So that's a big change for me. I'm in my work uniform now, as you can see, my nicest shirt and no pants. Just kidding. I've got tracky ducks on. And self-care being added to to routines there. I saw adding walking and yoga, that kind of thing. And yeah, in addition to working from home, I had a few other changes in my routine. My gym closed for a while, so I had to figure out how to exercise outside of the gym. And I was a very regular gym frequenter at the start of the year. That had to change. On the upside, I found myself with a bit more money because I wasn't going out. I was just living this kind of monastic life here in my bedroom. So that's nice. But guys, I reinstalled Tinder this year. It's been a bad year for us all, and it's been very desperate in some parts of Sydney in particular. So lots of changes to my personal routine, and I often found myself asking, what should I do with my day? How do I structure it? Because all my previous structures kind of disappeared this year. So that's the context I wanted to set. The year is 2020. If you're watching this in the future on YouTube, I guess humanity survived the apocalypse. But my lifestyle changed a lot, and I wanted a system to support me in answering questions like, what should I do today? When should I work? How should I exercise? What should I do with this extra money, etc. So that's a bit of context for my prezzo. And I wanted to start, before we dive into my Notion pages, I just wanted to share a little keynote presentation that I've prepared. Because as Lennon said, the important thing is not to kind of copy my system. The important thing is to design a system that works for you and your life. And no doubt it's very different from mine in some ways. So let's dive in. Quick agenda, what we're covering today. First, I just wanted to define what we're talking about. What is a life app and why would we want one? You guys are obviously Notion fans, or at least Notion curious. So I guess you know that there's a lot of value in kind of building a structure that supports you. I think, Natasha, you were saying that earlier. You found a lot of value in Notion for that. Digital design. So as Lennon was saying, that's my background. I'm a graphic designer and a bit of a unicorn, so a graphic designer who does a bit of coding. And there's a lot of ideas from this world we can use to design systems. And someone was saying that Notion is unopinionated. So it's this kind of workspace. You can think of it as almost like an app design workspace. So the digital design thinking hat is a good way to approach building stuff out in Notion. Then we'll get into my workspace as it looks now. And finally, just summarize some tips and some things I learned along the way that might help you in your Notion journey. This is going to be pretty fast-paced. So there's not really too much time to dive into the nitty-gritty of every part of my system, or even just like the basics of Notion. So I hope you get a lot of inspiration and design ideas from my talk, but we're going to be moving pretty fast. Try and ask questions as you go, and I'll try and answer them. But yeah, this is definitely a crash course. So let's carry on. This is me circa 1986, I guess. My kind of productivity quest, or whatever you want to call it, actually predates COVID. I was already into this stuff even as a kid. This is me dressed as a robot, I think, for Book Week. And being in 1986, that's some pretty high-tech gear, actually, I'm sporting there. Now, even at this time, I remember trying to design systems in my school holidays, trying to build like a schedule, I guess. So, for example, 9 a.m. I think was when my working day started, and it started with Lego projects. And then I had a break, and then I played some sport, and I think I clocked off at 3 p.m. So pretty good hours. Of course, I didn't call it doing productivity. I just wanted to get more play out of playtime. and that's still true today. I guess I intuited, even at that age, that there was some value in having a structure to get more play out of playtime. Yeah, thanks, Tim. Yeah, I used to be cuter than I am now. So from there, I was a big fan of Inspector Gadget at the time. So some of you might recognize Penny here from Inspector Gadget, Gadget's niece. She was the one who solved all the crimes in the show, and she did it using her computer book. And I was really obsessed with this computer book. I really wanted one. And I was an early adopter of, I guess, the closest thing at the time, which was the Palm Pilots, RIP. I'm pretty sure you can't get them anymore. Cool thing now, by the way, is that we all have basically way better things than the computer book in our pockets, and we can leverage that. So that's kind of exciting. I moved on to this app called TreePad, which is much less sexy than the computer book, as you can see, but it was an attempt to build this knowledge base, to build a commonplace book, as some people call it, and basically to centralize my knowledge and try and get some leverage out of it. It's pretty simple. It's basically a bunch of nested notes. I guess it was like an early Evernote. Then I discovered this guy, and he was a game changer, actually. David Allen, if you don't know him, writer of Getting Things Done. Getting Things Done is a productivity methodology, and I use a lot of the ideas from that book in my system. So if you're a GTD fan, like Michelle, then you'll recognize some of David Allen's fingerprints all over my setup. For a while, though, I used kind of like mostly a pencil and paper system that I called my playbook. And in 2019, I actually tried to tidy it up, and I released it to see if the people had the people outside of my own life had any use for it. And if you're interested in that, you can ask me. It's just a free PDF that I put out. And this was the next incarnation of my system. Before I discovered Notion, I even tried turning my life into a board game. There's a prototype of it. I could do a whole talk on that maybe, but suffice it to say, that was a bit of a tangent. Same concepts used throughout all these, but just in different forms. And now I've taken all those concepts, and Notion is kind of the latest incarnation. So I found this online somewhere the other day. I'll give you a moment to read it. I think it's pretty relatable. Like this idea of having a structure to support you. Okay, sure, that sounds great in theory, but how practical is it? I find this really relatable. I want a structure that tells me what to do, but also don't tell me what to do. And if you're designing your own system, your own life app, I think that's kind of a way around this this problem, I guess. This kind of fighting with yourself. If you design the system for yourself, if you design with the end user of yourself in mind, then you can be honest about how you're going to use it, and you can make something that you actually want to use, and you might not mind so much taking advice from yourself or taking orders from yourself. So why a life app? We've hinted at some of the advantages, but when I sat down to design my Notion system, I tried to really isolate the key benefits that I wanted to get out of the app. And I came up with 3. I call them clarity. So clarity is the what should I do now kind of piece. Like what is actually important to me, and what does that mean about what I should do right now? What's the next action I should take, as David Allen might say. So when you have something like a to-do list or a calendar or any kind of external system, even like a micromanaging boss could be an example. You have this kind of external thing that you can measure your actions against. So that gives you clarity in a sense. Vision boards might be another example. Next, I wanted more effectiveness. This is kind of the productivity piece. I guess this is the getting things done piece, if you're a David Allen fan. So this is asking the question, how can I leverage my knowledge, my ideas, and my effort? So I don't know about you guys, but I read a lot of books, or I listen to a lot of books mostly now. And I take notes on them, and what's happening with these notes? What's happening with this knowledge? Am I using it? I want to get compound interest on my thoughts. So that's effectiveness. Finally, what I call motivation, which is I want my emotions in my corner. Like I want to do the things that I know are important, even if they're not urgent, or even if they're odious things I don't want to do. I don't want to procrastinate. So I want to be motivated as much as possible. And maybe the Life app can help with that. So in layman's terms, I wanted the app to push me to do more good things and enjoy it too. So that's what I'm trying to achieve with my system. Great quote by James Clear that I think nails all of this really well. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So again, this idea of using a system as a support to nudge you towards more clarity, more effectiveness, more motivation. Okay, so in this slide, I'm going to try and teach you everything I know from 20 years of software development and graphic design, the important parts anyway. So I studied software development at Sydney Uni, and I majored in video games and gamification. Then I went on to study graphic design, art direction, and copywriting. So that's kind of my CV. And I wanted to take all the ideas from these spheres and apply it to my Notion setup. And I think there's 4 really key ideas. So these might sound a little bit technical, but I'll try and translate them for the non-developers on the call. User-centered design is a big one that all designers here are familiar with, I'm sure. And the key is to put the user first and the user experience first. In software development, sometimes we talk about black box. So the idea is that the code base and the technology is inside the black box, and we don't really know, or perhaps we don't care what's inside the black box. What we care about is the inputs and the outputs of the system. Okay, so we're thinking about the user first, not so much the technical aspects. This is a really good framework for designing any kind of app, including a Notion workspace. In kind of intuitive terms, I like to imagine a kind of virtual assistant, or like a digital muse, like Cora here from Tron Legacy. And if you haven't seen Tron Legacy, I think it's pretty underrated, to be honest. And it's like it's like literally a system about a movie about systems design in a way. So I recommend it to Notion nerds as well. So when I start designing an app, I imagine a kind of digital muse, and the muse actually knows what I should do based on my inputs. She knows me better than I know myself in a way. So that's how I think of user-centered design. Second, we have Agile. So this is a collection of software design best practices. And I guess the key tenet of Agile is to build the smallest practical thing first and then improve. So sorry, not sorry for another Tron Legacy reference, but this is the bad guy in Tron, Clue, and he wants to create the perfect system. That's his programming. And if you've seen the movie, it's a bad idea. He kind of ends up creating this totalitarian digital government. So we don't want to create the perfect system. We want to create the smallest working system, the minimum viable product, as we say in the biz, and then improve. So that's what Agile is about. Databases. I feel like this is a scary word if you haven't studied like databases for 3 months of uni like I have. But you see it in the advanced section in Notion. Like relations and stuff are kind of tucked away in the advanced part of the pop-up. But they're just piles of similar things. Like if you see a database diagram, databases are little cylinders because they're hard drives, right? But you can kind of imagine them as just buckets. They're just similar things in the bucket with no particular order. So I guess in terms of what we're doing in Notion, you can try to minimize the number of databases by thinking in this way, like what things are similar. When I was designing my system, I drew a lot of diagrams like this, trying to collapse the number of databases I had. So I have this database called media. You can see I've written media at the bottom. And I was trying to think of everything that should be in it. So rather than having a database for video games and another one for books, another one for films, and then another one for presentations and talks in the bottom right, I realized that all these things share enough fields that I could just chuck them in this one database called media and then use filters to get at just the books if I wanted to do that, for example. So I did this a lot during my system design. So yeah, databases are just piles of things that are similar. Finally, model view controller. So this is a software design pattern from web apps. And the idea is that you want to separate these three things. The model is the information of the database in terms of Notion. The view is the view, and the controller, you can kind of think of it as the logic, like the filtering and sorting. So in practical terms, all this means is that often the user, if I'm the user, I'm looking at dashboards in Notion rather than databases directly. The databases are almost like a back end that I don't look at too often. I'm mostly building dashboards, and this is kind of like the view layer that sits over the model, over the raw data. So yeah, we breezed through that, hopefully not too confused. I guess the key point is that Notion can be thought of as an app design tool. When you open Notion for the first time, it's this empty workspace, and that's kind of maybe the best and the worst thing about Notion. It's a bit of a learning curve, but as we were saying, it's unopinionated. You can kind of do what you want. So I think it's appropriate to think of Notion as an app design tool and use some of these ideas. All right, so onto my system. I highly recommend drawing a picture of your system before you start. And remember, we want to design for the user. We want to just abstract the technical parts and think about our inputs and outputs. By the way, don't try and follow the details of this. This is just literally my rough kind of brainstorming, mind mapping sketch that I originally did. I did a bunch of these. I tried to refine it. This is the next refinement, although it's actually not much of a refinement. And it stepped up a lot when I used Whimsical to clean it up. And I guess a lot of you have seen this picture. This is me trying to figure out where all the databases would sit. I don't really recommend drawing something like this. This was just me going a bit mental, and I had to show some people my design, so I tidied it up. Definitely do this, and maybe a few. You don't really need to do that. That's overkill. But anyway, version 2, I guess, let's call it version 2 that I'm up to, actually looks a bit different. So there's a lot fewer databases, actually. And let's very quickly go through this, because then when we jump into Notion, you'll hopefully see how this maps into reality. So all you really need to pay attention to here is these groupings. There's a few color-coded groupings. So in the middle, we've got this blue one, which is horizons. Another David Allen word there. Horizons of focus is a getting things done concept. This is the project management stuff. So goals and actions we can take, etc. So we've got horizons. We've got knowledge at the bottom in green. So this is just everything I know. Could be notes or kind of course notes or original notes I make or ideas I write down. Any and all knowledge. We have review in orange. So this is journaling and tracking things. We have areas in brown at the top. These are just kind of different life areas. There's three main ones you can see: personal, professional, and growth. And they're like vertical slices through everything else. That's why the dotted lines cut through there. Finally, we have this rewards thing in pink, which is a bit of gamification. So this is me trying to leverage the motivation piece. So yeah, a few other details there. But the key points are these 5 areas. There's horizons, knowledge, areas, review, and rewards. So you'll see these, how these are translated when we jump into the system. So without further ado, let's get on with it. Now this is just my live system, uncensored raw content coming. No, there's nothing too weird in there, but you are kind of peeking inside my brain. So let's just give a general rating of MA. For I don't know what you're going to see. So you've been warned.
Hey Luke, before we get on to that, do you mind maybe just answer one question from the audience?
Sure.
Question is, how did you make the presentation? Was it in Notion?
No, the presentation is in Keynote. I just made it look like Notion.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Thanks.
Cool. So shall we carry on? Anything else? I'm trying to multitask and read along, but it's getting a bit hectic. All right, well, let's jump back in. Okay, here we are at mission control. Now I've zoomed this in a lot so you guys can read along. So it might look a bit squished, but on my 4K monitor, it looks very nice and it's kind of optimized for that. So there might be a few things cut off. I'll try and talk you through them. So there are a few key dashboards in my system. Mission control is one. It's not actually where I spend most of my time. There's another dashboard for kind of daily actions. So I'll show you both of those dashboards, and if there's time or if there's questions about other parts, we can dive in. But if we look at those 2 dashboards, hopefully you'll have a pretty good understanding of the setup. Okay, so let's just go top to bottom. Let's start on the right-hand side here in this box that says system. So what I like about this is that this is the entire system right here. This is every database and every dashboard. You can see the whole sitemap, if you will, just in that little box in that snapshot. So you'll recognize some of these parts from my diagram. So we have horizons here, which is kind of the project management part, and these form a chain. So at the bottom, we have tasks, which are action items, and tasks belong to a project, and projects belong to outcomes. Projects are kind of like your classic SMART goals, I guess. There's a deadline, and they're very measurable and actionable. Outcomes are higher level things. So some of these are kind of just endless goals, like I want to be healthy, or they can be things that are a bit more fuzzy and hard to measure and maybe outside of my control. So for example, one of my outcomes might be to become Prime Minister of Australia. And there's lots of ways to do that, and it's not really up to me in a way. It's up to the voters. But there are projects that could push me towards that. Maybe community-based stuff, or things I can measure that push me towards that outcome. Horizon Zero is the dashboard that I look at 95% of the time. So in GTD speak, Horizon Zero, or the runway, is action time, the action layer. So this is where it comes together. By the way, each of these red things is a dashboard, and the gray things are databases. So that's the Horizon chain, I guess. Then we have knowledge. Almost everything is in notes, just any kind of knowledge that I write down. Media. We talked a bit about media in my presentation. So this is anything that's consumable, and I might make notes here. This includes courses and stuff as well. So between notes and media is most of my knowledge. People is a CRM, if there's stuff I want to track about specific individuals. And companies, pretty self-explanatory. People might work at companies, so these are linked. And these might all be linked to projects as well. Lab is, this is a kind of a special place where it's kind of like testing ground, I guess. And I recommend you have a place like this in your setup where you can just go in, break stuff, download random templates, play around with Notion formatting or whatever. So that's just full of junk, basically. I could delete that now and nothing would be lost. It's just a space to play and make a mess. Review. So this is journaling and tracking. So journal is where it kind of equates to days. Days roll into weeks, and weeks roll into seasons. I did have months, but that was just an extra layer of rolling things up that I didn't really use. Months don't really mean much to me in my life. Like weeks are important, seasons are important, or quarters. But years are too big, and months are like just in the middle. And review is the weekly review, a la GTD. So once a week, I try and jump into here, and it has a bunch of linked databases and checklists for things that I just need to check regularly. For example, I reread my journal entries, I empty my inbox, I check my email, and a few other things like that. Apps is everything that doesn't really fit elsewhere. Habits could kind of fit in like here or here in Review Horizons. They're essentially my way of doing recurring tasks in Notion. We'll get into those a bit in a second when we go into the Horizon Zero dashboard. Wanted, we'll come back to that. There's some more wanted stuff further down the page. Blog is content creation, just kind of a Kanban board with ideas about articles I'm writing. Inbox is a quick capture dumping ground, a very simple database that only has one field. So I just check that during my weekly review or whenever I feel like it. Mobile is a dashboard that's just kind of optimized for when I'm on the run. I think Notion on mobile has gotten a bit better, but when I made this, it was really bad and annoying, and I still think it's pretty annoying. So that's just where I go when I'm on Notion on the bus or the train. Okay, so that's my system. That's my whole system at a glance. Any questions about that part? Yeah, sorry, CRM is customer relationship management. But the people in people are not only customers or clients. It's kind of anyone that I want to frequently keep in contact with. You'll see that come into play on the Horizon Zero dashboard, actually. And Then areas gets its own database over here, and so that's the fifth area that you saw on the database topology earlier. So I guess these are pretty individual. There are 3 main areas, 4 areas, as I said. There's personal at the top, professional, which I've divided in 3, and growth, which is kind of like self-development or spirituality or learning or anything like that. So I'll just really quickly tell you how I broke down areas. But yeah, this is probably the most individual part of the system. I guess these are different for everyone. Although I guess most people would have like admin, health, and money, for example. So admin is just anything that's not anything else. Health and money, pretty self-explanatory. Social, that includes family and community and just anything involving people. Love is intimate relationships. Creative is anything like side projects or art or self-expression. Adventure is anything like hobbies or travel or fun stuff. So that's personal. Work I've divided into, or professional rather, has 3 areas. So I guess the easiest way to think of how these split up is that work is anything I'm getting paid for. That's literally my day job. Whereas career at the bottom is future jobs, like things I want to move into. And professional development is like training or networking or anything like that, which to my mind is a bit different to career. So I made a 3rd one. In growth, we have life design, insights, and self-dev. Just starting with insights. Insights is learning. So this dashboard, and I think of these as dashboards in addition to those. So this dashboard links into the knowledge stuff and has a whole bunch of different views for slicing that up and looking for patterns and that kind of thing. Life design and self-dev, you can think of these as kind of like life design is the outer and self-dev is the inner. So life design is kind of life strategy and a life plan and achievement, whereas self-dev is more like working on myself, knowing myself, meditation practice, spirituality, and that kind of more esoteric stuff. So yeah, they're my life areas as I see my life. Yours might be different. All right, so moving on. Desktop.
Sorry, Luke, can I check in maybe 2 questions before we move forward? I think Michael is asking how are Inbox and Labs different? Sorry to make you maybe scroll back a little bit.
No worries. I can show you. So Inbox is literally where I dump random ideas. So if anyone knows GTD, they're familiar with the idea of capturing. So you want to capture ideas and thoughts you have, but usually you don't want to act on them straight away or you'd never get anything done. You'd just be jumping around between ideas. And that's certainly how I like to work. So when I'm doing whatever I'm doing and I have another idea or I remember that I have to do something, I chuck it in Inbox. So that's what it looks like this week. Just completely random ideas that I have in the moment. And you can see it's a very simple database. It's literally just a dumping ground. I don't even know what these mean exactly until I review this and make it mean something. So just looking at the first few, Nespresso crops. So my housemate got this Nespresso crops and I tried to make a coffee with it. Disaster. Apparently my barista course has counted for nothing because I made a huge mess. I don't know how to use this thing. So I was going to look up the manual. Yep. Usually find out the manual for this stuff online. Do not do list supercut. So I made a do not do list of all the things that I shouldn't do when I'm working. It's like an anti-to-do list. So that was just a random idea that I had. I need to email these guys about a product order to see if they can give it to me in time for Christmas.
Yep.
And yeah, just other ideas like miscellaneous, just anything goes.
Awesome.
Okay, so that's what the inbox is. Now, what is the lab? So the lab is where I put anything I'm experimenting with in Notion. It's about Notion. So what's in the lab now? I have no idea. We'll find out if it loads. Okay. All right, so I made a copy of a page because I was practicing how copying works. I was seeing what all the highlight colors look like. I was seeing how many layers of highlighting I can do. Okay, so just playing with Notion, trying out formulas, trying random stuff with databases and allocating people. I don't know what that is, but I can delete all this because it's trash if I want. It's just me playing around in Notion. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you, Luke.
You had another question?
Yes, Danny just asked, how often do you go into each of these pages from your dashboard?
How often? Yeah, so it's kind of the 80-20 rule, or like even the 95-5 rule for me. Horizon 0 is where I'm just staring at it like almost all day, every day. So we'll go into that and I'll go through that in detail. Mobile sometimes if I'm on a bus, and review once a week. So these dashboards and this mission control dashboard I go into most of the time. Like, let's say, I'm just guessing, let's say Horizon 0 is 80% of the time. This mission control is like most of the rest of the time.
Yep.
And then review and mobile are a lot of time. And then I hardly ever just go into a naked database. It's the model view controller idea. Again,
yes.
I'm only looking at the views. These areas I go into kind of if and when they're relevant. I might actually quickly show you what these look like. I'll show you. So admin is a really boring one, but I'll just show you this because it's a simple one. All right, now all these are based on a template, and most of them have, information written here that's relevant to that life area. But they all have this block at the top called relations. And if I open that, it's just a view across the whole system for everything tagged with this area. It's almost like a master tag database, I guess, that kind of idea. So these are every note that's related to admin. So we have tax, important bits is like stuff I use all the time, like contact details or bank details. This is stuff about our lease. This is stuff about apps I use, my measurements, etc. Just boring admin stuff. There's no media for admin. There's no outcomes for admin. No surprises there. It's just like boring life organization. There are some projects to do with admin. You can see we have to do some stuff with our lease. We have to get a dryer. I have to organize my hard drive a bit. There's no habits. So every single area has all these relations, this relations block, and then it has some bespoke stuff. So I go into those just ad hoc when I need to deal with that area of my life. But it's not too often. Mostly I'm in the dashboards.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Moving down. All right. This will be quicker now. That was kind of the bulk of the system. So don't worry, it'll get faster from here. Desktop is kind of recent items or hot items, I guess. We have 3 linked databases here. As I said, everything in that brown box, that's the whole system, that's every database. So every other thing you see from now will not be a new database or a new object. It'll just be linking into those databases that we saw in kind of intelligent ways that help me. So here we have projects, and this is filtered by active projects. So this is just every active project. Notes. So this is filtered by every note that I've updated this week. And in Notion, if you make something new, it also counts as being updated at that moment. So it's new notes and recently touched notes. So yeah, just recent notes, I guess. And media is filtered by anything in progress at the moment. Can we have a template of this? Artem, the answer is maybe. If more people ask me, maybe I'll clean it up and put it on. I don't know. Do people put it on Gumroad or how? I don't know how to do that. But yeah, if it's useful for other people, I definitely want to share it. So yeah, just keep harassing me, I guess is the answer, and maybe I'll say yes. So that's desktop. Moving along. All right, this is a, oops. Didn't mean to click into that. Let's go down again. This is another link to my active goals. Okay, so again, this is kind of a visibility thing. This stuff doesn't really have a reason to be on mission control because I can just click into the database. But I wanted it in my face. It's this, I guess, this idea of spaced repetition to remind me what I'm chasing and to try and I guess get motivated to go after what I want. So yeah, these are some personal goals I have. And finally, this is the rewards part. You remember that pink section from the diagram. So this is a bit of gamification. Okay, now I'm getting pestered by everyone. I guess I asked for the abuse. So rewards is just a little tiny bit of gamification because gamification is fun. So you can see here that I've earned 202 points in my Notion career. How do I earn points? I finish projects. And then I can spend those points on unlocking rewards. At the moment, I only have 22 points left. So that's not enough to get the next reward, which is Civilization 6. It's a game I want to get for my MacBook. When this is not zoomed in, it actually shows the amount of points that each of these loot correspond to. So I can do some calculation. But suffice it to say that a large reward costs 45 points from memory. So I can't afford that yet. I have to work harder. Just in case, for some reason, there's any illusion that I might not be a nerd by this point, I'm also looking forward to something else, which also happens to be a video game. So I just add like anything I'm looking forward to the bottom here, just some extra motivation. So that's mission control. That's kind of the controlling dashboard that the whole system sits inside. Any questions about mission control? I'm going to dive into Horizon Zero next, which is the business end, I guess, where it all comes together on the day-to-day. All good? Okay, let's carry on. All right. Oh, no, I'm such a nerd. This is like another video game reference here. Anyway, shout out in the comments if you know who that is. And then I'll know you're a nerd too. Horizon Zero is where I start and finish my days in Notion. So let's imagine it's Thursday morning. It's tomorrow morning. This is what I'm going to do. I'll wake up. I'll have a quick cold shower, which is a great way to wake up. No caffeine needed. But then I'll drink caffeine anyway at the cafe. And while I do that, I'll open my MacBook and open this dashboard. So first things first, important bits. You actually saw that earlier in admin. It's just kind of snippets I use all the time. I don't know if anyone here uses a text expander. They seem like a pretty cool little digital life hack. I don't need one. This is kind of my replacement for them. But yeah, they seem pretty handy. But that's my text expander for now. Link to my Google Calendar as well. I know that you can kind of integrate calendars from Google into Notion, but it's pretty lame. I don't like it. So I just click out and check my native calendar in the app. All right. So it's Thursday morning. I've had my coffee. Maybe I've checked my calendar. Maybe if I want some inspiration, I just open this toggle. This has got my morning and evening routines. They're pretty ingrained, but there they are. And my anti-to-do list. You actually saw me brainstorming this in Inbox earlier. What I did is every day I wrote down one thing that I'm not to do, and I've recently kind of compiled them into this anti-to-do list. So that's really helpful. I stole that from August Bradley. If you're a fan of his, if you are a fan of his, you're probably seeing his influence all over this system as well. He's just another Notion guy. August Bradley. He's got a YouTube channel, really good. All right. If it's the start of the week, or if I just want to check, I might check my this week calendar. So this is kind of what I want to be doing at all times during the week. Notion doesn't really have spreadsheets, so this is kind of a bit hacky, but it does the job. And of course, each Monday, I can just click New Week to spin up a new calendar from my template, and then I can change it to whatever. So now I'd usually be at boot camp. It's a boot camp I run in Hyde Park, but obviously I've changed that to this presentation. So that's this week. All right. Now, what about today? Again, pretty similar. I have a new day template, and it just spins up some prompts for me that I might fill out if I feel like doing some intention setting or some writing. So I try and think of one thing I'm grateful for every day, and one thing that would make today awesome. And it's called this presentation, so hopefully I'm doing that. I'll let you be the judge. By the way, at the end of the day, I might journal a bit here. There's just some prompts. But at the end of the day, what I do is I select all these blocks and I just drag them straight into this little links database that's pointing to my journal. It's filtered by today. So that's how I have kind of my journal set up in Notion. I might quickly jump into, I'll come back to that if there's time and if people are interested. I'm getting sidetracked here. So I've started the day, I've set some intentions, and here we have tasks filtered by today. So anything that needs doing this day is here. And I might also check these two linked databases pointing to habits that are due today and people that are due today. So this is the CRM concept that we mentioned earlier. So what I've done is everyone who is in the CRM has a kind of contact frequency. And when it gets around to them, then they appear here. And it reminds me just to touch base with them. And there are some tags sometimes with how I know them. So, and all I want to do is touch base with them very quickly. Nothing. The bar of success here I set pretty low because I'm pretty bad at keeping in touch with people. So just even sending a quick hi, how you doing? I hope you're surviving the apocalypse, whatever. That counts as done. So if I jump into Laura here, you can see I want to contact her. Just once a quarter is enough. You know, I'm not very quick. She's just like an acquaintance. So if I update this, let's say I said hi to her today. So I can just make a note of that, and she'll disappear from the database there. Habits. Yeah, the habit database is kind of the most complex one I have formula-wise. It took a lot of doing to draw this turd and this percentage, like way too much effort. But just to briefly show you how it works, let's say I actually did this, morning sessions. So every day I want to spend the first hour of the day doing something really high leverage. That's just for me. So I actually did that today. You can see I'm doing all right, not great. Every weekday is my goal, but I'm only doing it 75% of every weekday. So I get this warning light. Anyway, so how this works just quickly is that I add it as a task. So habits are just, you can think of habits as just like bunches of tasks, right? Bunches of similar tasks in a way. That's how I think of them. So morning sessions is any of these high leverage things I do. So this morning I worked on worked on this system, and I did that. So what I have here is I have a whole bunch of templates that correspond to different habits. And if I select did morning session, usually I do these after the fact. So hence the past tense language. So the template sets it to done. Of course, I can uncheck that if I'm just scheduling it. But the important thing is it creates this relation to a habit. Okay, so if I've done that, then it disappears from the habits list. You can see it's gone. Yeah, so there's probably questions about that, but I don't know if I want to open a can of worms because that's a whole other talk. But are there any questions building up from Lennon?
I think we have overwhelming requests on the templates for sure. We've got a counter keep going. I've counting 5 or 6 requests maybe. And someone just voted one on the question. I think most of the questions are from Danny. But I just want to do a time check with you, Luke, maybe. Just want to make sure you can cover some of the key things you want to cover in the next 15 minutes before we ask you any more questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, I can just answer these questions here.
Great.
What can you clarify, Danny? What database do you clip to? Don't know what that refers to. Other question: do you use the time block daily or for task planning? Yeah, I use this concept of time blocking for sure. You can see like kind of a hint of time blocking in my weekly schedule. So yeah, my time blocks have nerdy names, of course, because as we've established, I'm not a massive nerd. So Bruce Wayne and Batman is a concept from designer Jessica Hirsch. Bruce Wayne is the money, and Batman is the mission. So these are two types of work I do. So these are kind of time blocks for types of work I'm doing. And of course, I have my morning session. I try and do that at 8 a.m. and so forth. So yeah, I do use the concept of time blocking a lot, but it's not really represented in Notion explicitly. I wrote like a whole huge article on Medium about time blocking actually, and designing a weekly template. But yeah, I'll link you to that later, I guess. Okay, web clipper, yeah. Okay, got you. Yes, I use the web clipper, and it goes into the media database. Yeah, so a lot of my media are actually YouTube videos and web articles. So that's my dumping ground for web clips, but they're commingled with stuff I just manually add, like books I want to read or courses I'm doing, or they're all just kind of commingled in media. Of course, they're tagged by type in a select, so I can filter them if I want. Cool.
Awesome.
All right. So you've seen kind of what I'm staring at most of the time, which is right about here. Just stuff I have to do, trying to bomb through this. Now, when I'm not doing that, I have one more little section at the bottom of Horizon Zero, which is planning. And this is just another view, yet another view into the tasks database, this time by calendar. So if I clear the deck here, and I aim to do that every day, then I can come down here maybe and get a bit ahead of the game. Look at the rest of the week. You can see there's a bunch of stuff on tomorrow. And I have quite a lot of tasks that don't have a date, actually. So here's yet one more link into one more view into that database. I know that you can sort it. Is it like up here? Yeah, you can kind of go here as well and look through here. That's quite convenient sometimes, but I actually like having it here because I like being able to just like chuck it into dates like that. It's quite handy. That is the end of the Horizon Zero dashboard. Any questions about Horizon Zero? If there's time, I want to show you one more database because it's kind of one of my favorites, even though I don't go into it much.
Yep, I think we have a little bit more time for one more.
Okay. So here we are back at Mission Control. Horizon Zero is where I'm doing my tasks. Mission Control is access to everything. Actually, I wonder if... Oh, no, I'll just do what I was going to do. So I was going to show you this, this life design page here. So, you know, Horizon Zero is what, you know, the lowest level kind of task management. It's doing actions that are due today, or that I've decided I'm going to do today. We move up the chain into more and more abstraction here. So life design is kind of the highest level of abstraction, I guess. It's like strategic thinking for my whole life. So I'll just show you what it looks like. All right. So again, as per everything in the areas database, we have this relations block. And it looks exactly the same, more or less, as in admin. But it just has more exciting things in it. Because life design is more interesting than admin. And of course, it has more outcomes, it has more projects, has more of everything. Now, as you saw with my review, I have these seasons, and they're kind of the highest level. They're really quarters, but I don't like the word quarters, so I call them seasons, even though they don't match exactly with the seasons. And each season has a theme. My theme for the season is pause and reset. The season's halfway through, more or less. So that's just like a, I don't know, I just thought it deserved a progress bar, you know, the active season, just to maybe create some urgency or something. Life overview. Okay, so remember how we don't want to be like Clue in Tron Legacy and design the perfect system? I don't think there's any system that can be a true life app, like control your whole life. So not everything is part of the system. A lot of stuff is. For everything that doesn't really fit, like I always have this, I just have like my priorities just written out in plain text. Not trying to filter them into databases or be tricky. I just always have a life overview here. Of course, we can leverage Notion now because I have all these projects that link very tightly to my high-level vision. So we can use links and stuff in there. But I mean, I just free wrote this at the start of the season, and I check it whenever I'm feeling a bit lost or at the end of the season. So yeah, this is really useful, and I'd recommend anyone do this. And obviously, you don't need Notion or even a computer. You just need a piece of paper and a pen. Guiding values. Again, this is just here because of that spaced repetition idea. So these are things I've thought about a lot and decided that they're very important to me. But they get buried, if they're just in a note or in my drawer or even on my corkboard, I just kind of get blind to it. But for some reason, when it's here, I come across it every now and then when I'm reading this or updating it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's interesting. Oh, Edge, yeah, that's badass. That sounds cool. And I reread it. Strategy. So here's kind of a back of the serviette plan, I call it, for my life. Just very rough. Just basically until death, subject to change. I don't know if I'll die in 2080. We'll see. That's not part of the plan. That's just a guesstimate. Principles as well. So I'm trying to build this into kind of like a lessons I've learned kind of list. This could actually be a database almost, but for now it's just this nice list of principles, anti-principles as well. Quite a while ago, I really thought deeply about my vision and drew this beast. So it's just in here as a reminder that I check every now and then. But what I've tried to do is somehow translate all this into the database that I have, the outcomes database. And the reason for that is because then you can link it down the chain, and get that alignment. You can link the outcomes to projects, and you can track if you're doing the projects, and you can make actions for the projects and put tasks on your daily routine. So it's a way of connecting really low-level stuff with high-level stuff. This looks massive because I'm zoomed in, but these are all my high-level outcomes. Some are tagged vision. So these are kind of endless things. And there's more detail inside. But essentially, for example, this one is about having free time, like having an opportunistic life where I feel spacious, I can be serendipitous, I can take advantage of random opportunities, etc. But here's the bad news. I can see that I've added this report, and there's no projects or habits that are linked to this vision. So this is what I mean. This is kind of out of alignment. So I can remedy that. I can start a project. Maybe I can, I don't know, do like a kind of a time audit or something. So that's an actionable project that might get me closer to this free time goal. Same with this one. I feel alive. Okay, so that's a very high level outcome. What's a low level project or a habit that I can add to that? Actually, my gym habit could be connected to this. So I kind of am doing stuff around that, but I haven't added it to the database. Okay, so this is just everything together, getting down to kind of low-level goals. So this one is a goal, as you can see. So this one actually does have an endpoint, video game success. So the big project I'm working on at work is releasing a video game at the moment. So we want it to be a success, of course. So we have the project of finishing the video game, but then the outcome is that it's financially successful, and we can't control that. That's a higher level outcome, but the project is completely within our control. So we can release it, finish the project. I'll earn some points for that, and hopefully it'll push us towards this financial video game success goal. That is the end of the life design page. So one of my favorite dashboards there. Any questions about the life design dashboard? Nope. Okay.
So
I
more requests
have one
for
more
Tim.
thing that I wanted to. Okay, that's good.
You asked for it. They keep coming.
Did. Well,
did you want to do your last? You got a last slide, yeah?
I do. Yep. Yeah, that's the end of my Notion tour, unless there are questions. But as you might recall, I wanted to just share some pro tips with you that I kind of learned along the way as I designed this, so that if you want to do the same thing, hopefully you can learn from my mistakes a little bit. Okay, so let's jump back to the Prezzo. Right. By the way, as you can imagine, this took ages to set up, so it wasn't worth it. Well, there were some advantages that I can point to that the system gave me. So this year, it was actually a pretty good year for me personally. And my routine didn't really get thrown off because there were so many kind of, I guess, internal locuses of motivation set up. So it kind of made me pandemic proof in terms of my goals and my routines. It did save me time after the initial kind of setting up. The weekly review was already something I was doing, but it used to take me like 4 hours, maybe more. Like I'd get to 4 hours, then I'd be like, all right, I'm sick of this now. But now that I have the weekly review dashboard, which is quite like focused and optimized, it's a lot quicker. And I spend about an hour a week kind of doing review stuff, I would estimate. Just generally, I do feel like I have a better relationship with time and boundaries of time and boundaries between life areas like work and play. And I have definitely noticed that it nudges me towards good behavior. I can remember specific times where I didn't want to, for example, go to the gym, but then it was the only thing left on my horizon zero, and then it was all empty. So I just went to the gym. Or like I wanted to knock off for the day, but then I just did a bit of extra work because I wanted to finish a project and get them points. So it has worked for the motivation part in that respect. So going back to my initial plan, I think I am doing more good things and enjoying it. All right, so over to you guys. Here's how to design a life app. Remember to start with writing down your objective or even drawing a system. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to kind of give you an overview and give you a direction for what you're trying to make. Remember to be agile. So start simple. Mine looks pretty massive and complex, but remember, mine is like 10 apps in one. Like I'm doing the CRM stuff, I'm doing the project management, then I'm doing my commonplace book, like my knowledge base, then I'm doing this gamification thing. So it's actually like lots of apps. And I started with just doing the GTD stuff. Like I started with that one bit with like a task list. So start simple, then iterate. Have a lab, we talked about that. You need a place to kind of test ideas out. Also some things to avoid. Learn from my mistakes. Don't over-design and make it pretty at the start. It can be pretty later, maybe, if you want. One of the first things I did when I was building it is I custom drew bespoke icons for every single page. And I stayed up late on like Friday night doing it. And then of course I just redesigned my whole system, and now all those icons are not being used, and it was a huge waste of time. So don't do that. Don't make it high maintenance either. So there's nothing really in my system that requires attention. Like if I go on holidays for 9 months and like live in the jungle and I don't know, like live amongst the tribes and take ayahuasca and forget all about the digital life and come back, there won't be anything that's kind of gone off the rails. I can just quickly check in with what I've done, and there's nothing I need to move around either. Early on, I had this system where I had to move stuff between databases. Like when I unlocked a reward, I would move it out of the rewards into like some other section of the system. But there's nothing I need to do like that now. It's just all kind of running by itself, I guess. This is a big one. Don't worry about doing heavy lifts. So I was using Evernote before I used Notion, and I still have like 500 notes in Evernote. At the start, I tried to migrate it all, but I'm never going to. Like if I need something and it's not in Notion, I'll just look at it in the Evernote. The Evernote phase of my life is finished, and there's like a memorial to that phase in Evernote until the end of time, unless I get really bored and do migrate it. But I feel no attachment or pressure to migrate it into Notion. Like it's like a waste of time. It feels important, but it's not. Evernote's cool. I'm not knocking Evernote. It's really good for getting things done for that methodology. That's my email because my website is down. But if you want to get in touch about anything we've talked about, Playbook or Notion templates and getting them, or just the ideal week writing that I mentioned on Medium, whatever, I guess my email is still the best point to contact me at. That's the end of the
Notion website. We can hook you up with the Notion website.
Oh yeah, I have thought about it. To be honest,
yeah, it's pretty easy.
I don't really like the look of those Notion websites, I have to say.
No, it's just the designer curse.
Cool. We're even looking at maybe tweak it from code, really. Like you can really just write it from scratch if you want. But Notion is a perfect container for that if you don't want all the fuss.
It's good for really fast sharing of info, that's for sure.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Amazing. Big breath now, mate. That was a lot of magic you just shared.
Sorry for running overtime.
What's time on the internet? We should just give people a chance to ask any sort of final questions that they want.
Sure.
Other than Danny, he's reached his limit already.
Poor Danny.
Nah, Danny always asks good questions.
I was expecting some curveballs from him, to be honest.
Yeah, he normally likes
curveballs.
We get to chat with him offline, so whenever we're online with him, we get to rib him pretty hard. But oh, there he goes.
I would be curious because, as I said at the start, this was like we were moving really fast, and I guess there's lots of different people on the call. Some might be developers or like Notion power users. Some people I think just maybe have never even opened Notion. They're just kind of curious, and hopefully those people aren't lost. Feel free to let me know in the chat if there's anything like that seems like a dumb question that I skipped over that you were wondering about.
From the chat, it seems like people are more inspired than anything else. I think sometimes when you get a chance to look at someone's whole setup and all the work they've put into it and the way they think, like it's a little bit voyeuristic. You're really, kind of honing in on what's going on for someone else. But it is inspiring to see.
Well, like I said, you're kind of peering into someone's brain.
Yeah.
Even how they structure the thing is quite telling in a way.
Yeah.
It's probably a Notion personality test out there, or it can be. Yeah. And, everyone's kind of internal thoughts are a little bit X-rated. So I hope you enjoyed looking into my tawdry, sexy goals and so forth.
Yeah. I saw you skipped over a few bits a bit quicker than other bits. Oh, here we go, Danny. Not enough formulas. Fair.
Well, maybe in Build With Me, we can look at the habit tracker.
Yeah, nice segue.
Segue there.
Segue there.
Not even I know how it works.
So that is true, though. In a couple of weeks, you're going to come back and run the build with me or build with us, or I don't think we've quite landed.
A question or
No,
an order?
Yeah, that'll be great. So what are we going to focus on?
I'll leave that to the popular vote, I think.
Oh.
I thought the habit thing could be good just because it's formula intensive, and also because I haven't really seen any habit tracker that I like online. I think mine's a bit unique, so that could be a good one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the other idea I had, if people are interested, was to if there seems to be a few GTD fans out there, and I don't know if you follow David Allen much, but he has this thing where he will never give he never has given his seal of approval to any one app for using GTD.
Yeah, right.
He doesn't think like the perfect app exists. And he's released all these user interface sketches that he made like 20 years ago that he said like nothing can come close to this. He uses Lotus Notes, by the way. What a boomer. But another idea I had was like, let's build David Allen's like perfect GTD app in Notion based on his sketches. So that's another idea I had for a build with me. It
would be fun.
Would it be the Tron villain in this scenario?
More like the wise guru.
Well said.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've OmniFocus. Yeah. I thought David Allen actually had something to do with OmniFocus itself, but maybe not.
I think he talked to them and consulted with them.
Yeah, right.
And I think they do overtly use the GTD methodology.
Yeah, that's what I used. Before I started using Notion, for 10 years I used OmniFocus. Every version of it. And it was great. Yeah. But it didn't actually let me adapt OmniFocus to me. And I think that was the key thing is, any system is good if you just want to follow a system. But if you get to a point where you realize, actually, I don't need that bit, I need something slightly different, then most apps aren't going to allow you to do it. And this is the beautiful thing that we love about the kind of no code or low code sort of setups is you can actually customize it to fit you perfectly.
Sure. GTD is, you can see that GTD is kind of how I think about project management. And I even have the horizons of focus more or less like he does.
Yeah.
But then stuff like personal knowledge management is not really addressed super directly with GTD. So then for that I kind of use like other ideas from Second Brain or Tiago Forte. And then as I mentioned, proper respect for August Bradley.
Yep.
His pillars, pipelines, and vaults system is also influential.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can put links to all these people in the show notes, I guess.
Well, we might have the Luke Max system soon. If all these calls for a template come off, mate, you'll be running your own.
God help us all.
Well, I think that's a good point to wrap up on, unless anyone's got any last hurrah, Luke, or any last questions?
All good from me.
Very good. Okay, thanks everyone. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Homesick Mac is just making the point that all the other apps are their containers that you have to accept. But Notion can be tailored to infinity.
Yes, good design can always be tailored.
And beyond.
Yeah. I want to know how you're in New South Wales.
That's partly why you should draw your system so you don't fall into the trap of tinkering forever.
Yeah. I want to know how you got away with not watching State of Origin, but being on a Notion call at the same time. Is that the nerd card? You don't have to worry about sport.
Yeah, I just pretend not to understand.
I've just had texts from all my rugby following mates all night while we've been on the call about what's happening in the game.
Yeah, I had to turn my phone off and close my door. I guess I'm about to find out what the situation is.
Very good. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Thanks very much, Luke. Appreciate your time and all your effort to put that together. It was excellent.
Thank you, Luke.
My pleasure. Have a good night.
Nice. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Bye, guys.
Bye.